used to be Cuban, Cubano, but things change. This is my family before me, but not by much. They came to the States in March of 1962. They weren't tourists. They were political exiles, seeking refuge from the communist revolution that had taken place just 3 years earlier. 7 months after that, the Cuban Missile Crisis paralyzed the world for 13 days. 3 months after that, me. I was born on the Jersey side of the Statue of Liberty in what's called Havana on the Hudson, AKA Hudson County, which is home to the second largest Cuban exile community outside of Miami. Since I was the only child born this side of the Cold War, my family thought it befitting to dub me El Gringo de la Familia. My Cuban-born siblings got names after, middle names and first names after parents, grandparents. One sibling was even named after a Cuban political hero. El Gringo de la Familia got Alex. Not Alexander, no middle name, nobody from Cuba, nobody, nothing. I need, being the professor, I need to stop and define terms, okay? Listen to this definition: a person, especially an American, who is not Hispanic or Latino. You get my dilemma. Here are my movie star-looking parents in 1950. This was their wedding. It was a Justice of the Peace wedding they were signing. My two grandparents, my two grandmothers on either side are there, aunts, uncles, are in attendance. This is the life they left behind, and this is the life they yearn to go back to until their deaths. In Cuba, my father had his own pharmacy. He did very well, so well that he was able to provide for his growing family. My mother never had to work outside of the home until she came to this country. Had I been born, I too would have come home to her delicious cooking from school. And I would have been in pictures like these. And like my brothers, I would have learned about José Martí at school, Cuba's Abraham Lincoln. It wasn't until I got to college that I learned about José Martí's that I read José Martí's visionary essay, Nuestra América. Living at the time of Cuba's fight for independence from Spain, Martí conceived of an emerging Latin America whose newly independent countries shared both political values while embracing all their cultural differences. Like our very own founding fathers, he championed self-determination for Nuestra América, right, for our America. And like my family, José Martí was forced to live in exile from Cuba for pursuing the same ideals that we, Americans, hold to be self-evident: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all felt this psychological dismemberment. They from Cuba, me from their experience in Cuba. In my attempt to share in all of that, I'd ask a ton of questions. I think I drove my mom crazy. What was school like in Cuba? Did you work in the pharmacy too? What do you miss most about Cuba? With my father, it was politics. How deep into the revolution did you realize Castro was not pro-democracy? At what point did you realize you weren't going back to Cuba? As I got older, my memorable conversations with my father about Cuba got longer and longer and deeper and deeper. It's what I miss most. We talked for hours. I came to appreciate just how betrayed he felt. But despite my many questions and conversations, I found myself between two worlds. At home, el gringo de la familia, someone who's not Latino. Outside in the world, I don't know, immigrant adjacent. I didn't have to go through the naturalization process that they did to become an American citizen. I was issued a passport easily, And in 1984, I voted for the first time, not only for myself, but for my entire family. My father's mission in this life in exile was to transmit to his children his pride in Cuba. Of me, he'd often declare, misión cumplida, mission accomplished. He'd also say sometimes, even shout, when the idea of visiting Cuba just came up in conversation. Tú vas a Cuba y tú no entras a mi casa. If you go to Cuba, you will never step foot in my house again. That was his line in the sand. He was angry, but he wasn't trying to be cruel. He was protecting me from falling for the same mistruths he'd once believed. He'd lived through authoritarianism. He knew how to spot the danger even before others saw it, even saw it coming. It's better to ask for forgiveness than from permission. I went anyway. Just how Cubano was I if I'd never been there? This was bigger than politics. In Cuba, I connected with my family. I connected with family that I would have never met otherwise. Lovingly, they welcomed El Gringo de la Familia into a reality that had both been spared as well as denied. My cousin gave me a tour of the homeland that included, among other places, my father's pharmacy, my mother's place of birth, and the house in which our grandmother had lived and died. They were amazed at how Cubano I was. I was surprised at how American I was becoming. When I confessed, in quotes, my transgression to my father, he felt betrayed. But once I assured him that now, more than ever, I agreed with him, not out of some blind allegiance, but because my lived experience confirmed everything he taught me, he felt relieved as well as receptive. I asserted that born into a democracy, I had as much right to know the homeland as he had had to leave her decades earlier. I thanked him for instilling in me a love for Cuba so strong that it inspired me to defy him in his honor. My doing exactly what I was told not to do was actually an homage to his refusal to live under authoritarian rule. And getting my father to that mutual understanding was truly the most gringo de la familia thing I could do. Gracias.